Awesome stuff. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Space Girl Lounge Megaspace event. Today we have four amazing projects. I think while we proceed, while we move ahead, most of the speakers is going to join us. The one of the speakers is not going to be available, but it's a great pleasure to have you all on this Megaspace event here on Space Girl Lounge, and we have the speakers from Roko Network, and we also have one Lord who is going to be presenting as well. So, without no further ado, we're going to be starting off with Manicor, who is going to be presenting this amazing project called Roko Network. So, Manicor, how you doing? Can you please pronounce your name so I know if I'm actually doing it correctly?
Manicor works. Manicor works. It's a made-up name from my perspective, though I've heard that it is actually part of some people's actual names. So Manicor is fine.
Impressive stuff. So, tell us, how's the project going? Tell us about the team and the project, the developers behind the project.
Yeah, it's been an interesting ride. The desire for Roko Network is to create what we call a temporal blockchain, which in simple terms is basically, as a lot of people working in blockchain know, it's essentially when you're submitting your transactions to a block, they can be processed in whatever order, and miners can decide, or validators can decide how things operate. In a temporal blockchain, we add time as a first class citizen to the chain's operation. We add signing of time to that operation, and we enforce the ordering of those transactions. Now, this is something that isn't really done much in blockchain. This is a different way of looking at some of these problems. And as a result, there were a number of challenges to figure out. But I'm happy to say, after about a 2.5 year journey, we have a working chain, and we are pushing to testnet to release hopefully in a few weeks here, so people can start actually playing with this and seeing if they can break the protections we've put in place.
Impressive stuff. So, in terms of milestones, can you share some top milestones of achievements in which you guys have had so far, apart from the one you just mentioned?
Sorry, say that again.
I said, in terms of milestones, achievements in which you guys have had so far, can you share some top milestones in which you guys have had that you guys are actually proud of since you guys started the project?
Oh, absolutely. One of the bigger milestones was just figuring out the network itself, and how we're going to do time synchronization. And this is one that's still evolving and probably will evolve for the life of the network. But but getting that initial capability, the hardware we need, getting that hardware to talk and prove that we can get time synchronization working and actually manage our own time, which I don't think a lot of people realize, that like time is usually something that gets issued from your governments or from universities or that sort of thing. There's not really a truly decentralized time signal. So getting that established, that we could do that, that we could build that, and putting together a hardware package, a prototype that sits on my desk that actually did that, was one of our big first milestones. We realized that we could actually achieve this as a product for people, and that they may actually even be able to play with it in their homes. And then the next big milestone happened literally about 2.5 months ago at this point, which was, after many different permutations of modifications to the substrate chain, writing our own consensus mechanisms, playing with all kinds of different methodologies, we came up with a method that does enforce transaction ordering safely on a chain, and we are confident in the security of that. So much so that, while robotics is something you'll see us feature quite a lot, and that's one of the goals of this project, we're also looking to provide anti-MEV services, and possibly even DeFi on our network that will be MEV proof.
Impressive stuff. Quite amazing. So, have there been challenges in which you guys have encountered so far that you would love to share with us and how you guys were able to overcome them?
And one of the biggest challenges is coming up with the concepts that you need to deal with in overcoming, the way a blockchain works, right? How do you add this enforcement of a time concept, um, ideally without perverting or changing significantly the way the blockchain works today, right? We don't want to have to rewrite the book on how this is all done. We'd rather just enhance and add more capability to what's out there. And that was quite a journey. We actually, for a while, went down a road where we thought we'd have to make our own consensus mechanism. And part of the reason why we're running an L1 is because the time aspect is different enough that we need to be, kind of our own chain. However, over the past year of effort, we have found a path to providing this capability and allowing ordered transactions, automatic notary services, those kinds of capabilities, without modifying the Baber Graham-Paul consensus mechanisms that come with Substrate. They're actually pretty much out of the box unchanged, and we've added this as a palette. So it's a potential that other projects could take advantage of these capabilities as well.
Interesting stuff. Interesting. Well, let's move ahead then. Let's talk about the project itself now. Since we have learned about how the background of the project and how it all started. So tell us about the project itself right now. The main problem in which you guys are currently solving. You feel Roko Network is going to be solving in the crypto space. Tell us about the utilities and how you think some of the listeners here how it could actually benefit us.
Absolutely. So some of the, we'll have documentation on our site that'll have you give you some ideas. But some of the ones that we're looking at is first off, timestamps just isn't necessarily a thing that has a lot of cache in computer networking or even in blockchain especially. But it's always kind of best guess, and we synchronize clocks within a few seconds, but like servers can have drifts of seconds or even minutes sometimes, and it's not a problem. And that's great for the way Ethernet works and the way we need to make computers work. And that has had us deal with both security and concurrency in very particular ways. What we'd like to do is take advantage of the fact that there's more bandwidth out there now, there's more compute capabilities, and the fact that we have really great processors that you can have way out at the edge, that we can create mesh networks that essentially do precise timekeeping themselves. And then you can write applications that count on that. And NDMEV is one. Another one that I often bring up is gaming. Even today, the most intense esports. At the end of the day, most servers, despite how written they are, is often RNG at the last second who pushed the button first, and that's kind of a decision that a server makes by rolling a dice or maybe looking at someone's ping. With specific time signing and network synchronization where you can't tamper with that signing, you could potentially actually have people do games of skill at full speed and actually rectify that at the server concretely, not just roll a dice.
Quite amazing, quite amazing. I'm currently looking at the project and I wanted to ask about the project. When last what is the updated like the update on the project on the website? I see like it's like a year ago. I wanted to get some information before I start going through it.
Yeah, so the website itself, we just pushed an update a couple weeks ago. Let me pull that up. I should have had it up already. My apologies. We just released a brand new site experience just a couple weeks ago. We had a very kind of Web3 and very abstract kind of thing before. You'll see it in some of our archives. Really cool, but it was not really concrete as to what we were doing. This is much more focused on what we're actually building and where we're going with that. Talks very specifically about the hardware and the projects we have going on, some of the things you might see it used for. We have been operating as a DAO, and we have had a functioning governance going on this whole time. So this is really just an improvement to the communication channels we're already doing with our investors. And with this new site, we are also adding a newsletter that you pop on the site, scroll down to the bottom, and you will be able to sign up and get updates on the project. So we're working on creating improved communication with our customers, and we're actively pushing to get testnet out the door. The repos on GitHub, you don't see a lot of updates on. I think we just released documentation, and I think we're going to be releasing the chain probably in a couple months, I think is the way it's going to go. I think we want to make sure we have the code in a good place where we can accept PRs from people without it like clogging up our operation.
Impressive stuff. Impressive stuff. Now, on the decentralized aspects of Roko network, I would love to know how the Roko network will ensure true decentralization while remaining efficient and scalable. Can you just touch a little bit on that aspect?
Yeah, so this is going to be some of the challenges, like a lot of fast chains that we're adding extra stuff to, right? These often require, kind of beefy machines. And so like a lot of other chains, we're taking a solution where there's essentially tiers of machines in different roles, right? We have the time capability and maintaining a concise time signal for the mesh network is going to require initially dedicated time grandmasters, and then once the network grows, it'll be the network itself maintaining it. But those grandmasters will always stay there. Then there's also going to be, the typical validators you see in a substrate chain. They're going to be handling the typical chain maintenance, but they're also making sure that transactions execute in that order. The way we handle efficiency here, because of the fact that this kind of changes the way gas competition works, is we're going to have a pricing system that's a little more expensive because, guaranteed order, and it will basically scale on network utilization.
Quite impressive stuff. What about the AI aspects? I would like to know also what are the roles does the AI agents marketplace play in making AI more accessible to developers and also businesses for those who love to make use of your services?
So that's our partnership with Selfient, and basically the idea here is that we're going to be using the time-driven blockchain components to deploy escrow contracts with time-gated triggers, and these will be used as integration points between agentic pipelines. So agents that you build will be able to communicate with each other and serve each other while paying for each other's services, essentially.
Impressive. I'm also looking at the website. I also saw quite a lot of information right there. I would love to keep it a little bit brief because we have another speaker waiting.
Mhm.
So I want to talk about the token itself. Do you guys have a native token?
Yes, we have a token on Ethereum.
Impressive. Now tell us the role it plays in your ecosystem and how you think it's going to make the project more efficient.
So over the last couple years, it has served particularly as a governance token. Right now, the details are still being ironed out on the specifics of this. We think that we're going to come up with a system where there is the governance token, and this is for governance and staking, which is what we have today. And that's going to be how you like stake a claim on the network, for example. And then there will be a kind of, I want to say arcade token. It's basically a flat rated token that's meant to, pay for the services, and isn't meant to be, used in DeFi or anything. The idea being,
Listen, what about
go ahead.
yeah, I had you. Go you can go ahead if you're not done.
Okay, yeah. No, the idea being there, you want to use arcade tokens because if you try to run a network that like consumers are going to use and you run it off of DeFi, the changes in a particular pool could drastically alter the way you charge for your services. So you'd rather have a price that is able to pay for the services regardless of where the market is. It's kind of a stable coin concept.
Okay. Now, in terms of the payment aspect of it, does it play any role like in any services in which an individual would love to make use of? Does it play any third party role in terms of payment or any other thing?
Um, we haven't decided yet if it's going to. I think it will with regards to rights exchange on the network. So like for example, there will be, agentic agents that people publish and they're selling, right? I totally expect that you'll be able to exchange Roko for that. The tokens that I talked about, the flat rate tokens are for paying for like the execution.
Okay, so has there been like an all-time high for it? Like maybe all-time high in the market price or the market cap in which you guys have been like, okay, this is a big price and you guys were super proud of it.
I don't remember offhand. There's other people on the team that follow that. I'm definitely more on the developer side. I do
Okay.
believe we peaked around 5 or 6 million market cap.
Okay, that's impressive. Now let's talk about your DAO system. Though you did talk about the governance aspect, but let's talk about the DAO. How does the Roko DAO ensure fair community-driven governance of the token? Tell us about that.
Okay. So first off, I want to make I got a message. It's 32 million at peak. Excuse me. Also,
Okay.
yes, for governance right now, it's a manual process. Like a lot of DAOs that sell a token before the project is built, they have been managing disbursement of funds through a website they've created for voting that keys to the wallets so that you can get the right vote for the number of tokens you have. And it's just a typical, every month or so there's a couple votes for something. And it's been really well managed by our map tech. You'll see him in our chat. He handles all that and he does a great job. The goal is to get to a point where we have integrated governance and we even have the DAO voting on chain updates and we're releasing code based on those votes. But to tackle one problem at a time, we're focusing on the time capabilities first.
Impressive. What about on the security aspect? In what ways does the I see you guys have a Roko ledger.
Hmm.
So I want to know in what ways does the Roko ledger guarantee security, transparency, and also individuals data? How is it? How do you guys? How can someone has this confidence that my data is being safe and also guarantee privacy on the Roko ledger?
So it's a substrate-based chain. So we have all the standard protections that come with substrate, and the addition of the time capabilities that we have added do not degrade any security. It actually creates some new opportunities for us to add additional security. There part of the consensus mechanism we did go through was is that there was a security issue with regards to what if a validator or a particular user lies about their time, and we've come up with a novel system where basically you don't get to sign for your own time, others have to sign for you. We call it a time beacon.
Wow, wow, that's cool. Before I talk about the marketing, I want to know about the user base, those who come on board, the community aspects, and how they have been able to make use of your services.
Mhm.
The comfort aspects, have there been complaints like maybe problems, one or two problems or lags on the website or from your services in which maybe they have complained previously, and how have you guys been able to tackle some of these issues?
It's definitely been a bit of a challenge, right? This was one of those. A great group of guys have a really cool idea, and they're absolutely able to raise, right? They absolutely did that. Um, but going from raising to functional solution that other people are using, there were a lot of gaps, and this caused a number of slowdowns in the development and figuring out how we needed to do it and precisely, even what framework we were going to use. Like there was literally a conversation of L1 versus L2 for almost a year. On top of that, like a lot of projects, we've had the usual like major tech person come in and then they leave and leave a vacuum and other types of changes throughout that have caused bumps in the road. I'd say the biggest way we addressed a lot of that is that there's a lot of big ideas in the group and we want to do a lot of things with Roko Network, but we need to get Roko Network working first before we can even play with that. So the solution is to focus in and start getting the network running, and that's what we've been doing for about the last year and a half, and we're at about the end of that run as we get toward testnet here, which we're really proud of. And at the same time, it's there's a lot of grumpy people who are complaining nothing's happened for a long time, there's no communication, that sort of thing. So it's still a small team, and we're trying to get the network out at the same time. Like I'm up late at nights, like updating the website and coming up with a marketing plan so that people can see that we're here.
Interesting. Interesting. Most individuals, or say most investors, they normally go for projects that offers incentives. So I'd love to
Mhm.
know, do you guys offer any incentives? Like what incentives are in place to encourage more individuals to participate in the AI agents marketplace?
Once we have the network running, the cool idea here that I've really looking forward to playing with and getting working properly is taking the concept of blockchain contracts creating a form of revenue for developers and move that toward a concept of like a lot of types of programs, agentic pipelines, processes that people do, their expertise, they can make value from that, right? And I think we've seen in blockchain that we have the pieces and tools to enable that, but only a few people are starting to really assemble that together. And I think once you create a marketplace where people can exchange, a lot of like the usual incentives you see in most marketplaces start to become available to you, and we would absolutely play that game.
Impressive. Before I ask the question regarding marketing, Mickey Crypto just sent me a question right now because that's how we normally host our AMAs. He's asking about the incentives, still on the incentive aspect. He's asking how would tokenized incentives be structured to reward value creation? I think that's what the clause is asking.
Yeah, yeah, and it's kind of yeah. Basically, your value creation with regards to creating software you're going to sell, value creation with regards to running that software. So validators are going to run agentic pipelines for folks, and that's going to be paid for using HTTP 402 and other payment gateways. So rather than just having a yield scheme of money pumping between a DeFi pool and a network that emits token, we want our network to provide actual value with tools people are going to use. And that's going to create opportunities for people to make money, selling the things they've built, for people who are selling their services to run the executions of that, and then at the same time, network incentives for being a part of it. Like we want to even go so far as to the time beacon capability we're talking about. We're working on figuring out how to push that all the way to the edge, with the idea being that the beacons come from the edge, and we let the users at the lowest tier basically keep everyone else honest.
Impressive. Much for that question. I see more questions too, more questions, but I want to ask about the use case. This question is coming directly from me. I
Sure.
want to ask about the use case of the projects, and I don't know if you can go into that. I want to know what reward problems is Roku prioritizing for its initial use case. I don't know if you can touch a little bit on that aspect.
So you mean with regards to reward payback, or as far as just the use case in general?
In the terms of the reward problems, I want to know which one you guys are prioritizing at the moment.
I mean, I don't know if there we haven't really we're not really seeing any reward problems necessarily. I think there's a misconception on how the network can potentially operate, and the pricing of what emits from the chain is going to be a very big conversation with regards to, like, difficulty and how much utilization is on the chain, to make sure the rewards are right, and that people who are running these operations are actually making money, right? It has to be profitable for people to do that. But the reality is that there's a whole bunch that's going to be built on top of these. And we want to enable that marketplace. So we want to try and keep the network price as low as possible, and get people to open their compute up for providing these extended services, be that data collection, processing of compute workloads, that kind of thing. Got very quiet. Are you guys still there?
Oh, so sorry, I was speaking to myself. I said, let's take this question. Thank you very much for that explanation. Thank you. Let's take a question from Marcelino. He's asking about the competitive role in which your project plays in terms of other projects, other developers who are actually creating exactly what you guys are currently building. He says, how will Roku attract and retain developers in a highly competitive AI ecosystem?
So right now the team we have is very small.
You get the question?
Sorry, can you hear me?
I was asking if you get the question. Sorry, I think my network is kind of lagging.
No worries. So
Are
you
you
want me
there?
to add? Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me? Can
Yeah,
you
I
hear
can
me
hear
now?
you. I think the network is kind of lagging.
Okay, okay,
You can
okay.
go ahead if you got the question.
Sure, yeah, I got the question. No problem. Yeah, so the team is really still small. It's really still the core team.
We can hear you anymore.
Hmm.
Monitor, we can with Manicor, we can hear you anymore.
Yeah, okay, here we go. Okay, so it's really
Just give me
still
a minute. I'm gonna leave and come.
better.
Okay, go ahead. We can hear you now.
Okay, great, great, great. So yeah, it's a pretty small team still, and it's really just the core members. Uh, I was, hired on, and I work on retainer with the team, and there's one other group we bring on kind of called Unforkable, and they have two developers that they've been working with, and they really like the project. And this is something we've run across with a lot of developers actually. Once you sit down and you show them it, and you get past the initial, wait, can this even work? Are you crazy? What the heck? And you get into the, okay, this can work, and what can we do with it conversation. A lot of people are like, this is really cool, and I'd love to play with it. And that's actually been a conversation with a bunch of the places we've been to too. Is there's a lot of interest because it's something different, and because we're trying to push on new features that people can't easily attain. There are, for example, chains and projects that are doing things that are similar to the way we're doing it, but like everyone, we have our distinct mix that makes us different, and we have our reasonings behind that.
Quite impressive. Let's take some questions regarding the marketing and partnerships. Can you tell us what partnerships you guys currently have at hand? You did mention about one previously. What partnerships or what other partnerships in which you guys currently have at hand, or you guys are currently working on, like other platforms in which you guys are currently planning to bring aboard on your projects to make it more efficient for users?
Absolutely. So this is our partners list. These are all the groups we're working with to make this happen. So, Time Beats are our company that's helping us provide time. Unforkable's helping development, Selfient's contracts, robotics for the Edge Network stuff. I'm also helping with Edge Network. We're working closely with Polkadot and OCP Tap. The conversation with regards to Polkadot is what other substrate chains could potentially take advantage of this. Do we potentially palletize something that people can take advantage of? And the interesting challenge there is it's not just a piece of software, right? You can make the blockchain respect time order, but you still need the network with the specific time synchronization. So there's a conversation there with how we would enable another chain by basically lending them our time network. And because our network is pretty much a standard substrate chain without any consensus issues that would break that, we should be able to provide that service. With regards to who we're approaching, we haven't approached anyone specifically beyond Polkadot, mainly because we want to make sure we have all our ducks in a row before we start, knocking on doors.
So, speaking about doxing, is all the teams part of the team members, are they all doxed or just part of the team members?
Only some of the team members are doxed, more than your typical group, but there are a handful of, especially some of the early OGs that aren't doxed. Like I'm doxed. I don't run around with my name on my chest, but it's not that hard to figure me out.
Yeah,
Um,
you're doxed.
yeah, I'm pretty much doxed. And I'd say that the biggest one that's the most underground is probably our visionary. He goes around as Prime, and he has a very high desire for privacy. But like most Web3 groups, like everyone there is kind of like, I prefer you not use my first name unless it's necessary, kind of thing. But we know everyone. Like, there's no shadowy group. There's no one shadowy in the group within the group. So if that makes any sense,
Impressive.
yeah.
I do understand. I do understand. Everyone needs privacy. Most persons are comfortable that way.
Mhm.
Regarding the marketing aspect, you have mentioned about the partnerships in which you guys are, have and already put in place. To tell us about the marketing, are there new ways in which you guys are planning to bring about new investors, or seeing new ways in which you guys could make your platform more efficient for you new users to come say, okay, I love this project, I want to be part of it. I want to put my money into this. I would love to make use of your services. Are there any plans in which you guys are currently putting in place?
Yeah, so like most projects, we're looking to potentially have partnerships with regards to wallets and payment gateways. We intend to do some of our own construction and tooling as well, but it's one of those things that just doesn't really reasonably happen without some good solid partnerships. With regards to funding, we're looking in a couple different places. We're knocking on the traditional Web3 doors where we think we can provide value there. But at the same time, kind of in the modern day of blockchain, where, I feel like a lot of people are like, show me something real. I don't really care whether it's blockchain or database or whatever. Just give me something that works that I can use. We're also looking at the applications that are going to be built on this system and how they can be exposed as like traditional consumer services in some cases, even with like, Stripe kind of payment gateways.
Quite impressive. Quite impressive. Well, tell us, is there any part of the project you felt like we haven't touched on before we move ahead to the next speaker? It has been a great session so far.
I'd say the biggest thing, and it's only because it kind of went, in the back seat, only because we had to get the network online, is the wonderful work on this robotics platform that we're working on. You'll see the image changing in the background here, right above my head, and the whole original genesis of this project was for basically industrial robotics level coordination systems, and we still intend on doing that. And the idea here that's really cool is that the bipedal robot is meant to be entirely open source, and you could actually print it and build it at home.
Impressive. I'm just zooming my screen right now to check it out. Do you guys have like a physical office where you guys carry out all of this information? You can maybe you could not disclose it, but do you guys have like a physical office where you carry out all of this services?
No, we're all remote around the country, but I do, I have office locations. I've met with clients and partners before. As a matter of fact, the Selfie partnership was done here at local conference centers, so it's not a huge problem for us because we are 100% remote. We just rent the resources when we need them.
Impressive. Wow. This massive. Looks good.
Thank you.
Interesting stuff. Last question from my end, because looking at what you guys are building, it's not something I feel like one or two persons are gonna be building. Like if you were to ask about the team members and how big which you guys are currently are, tell us how big the team, the core team members are.
So the core team members, I think it's 10 of us at this point, 8 to 10. You have to take a head count. As far as development goes on current chain, it's two, sometimes three, where I'm helping and providing support. And then we have a couple other people with development resources working on websites, the robotics project, network infrastructure, that kind of thing. And then we have, I think it's like three or four marketing business type contacts, and at least one of them's a market maker that's a friend of ours.
Interesting. Interesting stuff. Now, the last question from my end is regarding future plans. The year is coming to an end. We are getting into next year. What are some plans or what are some utilities or incentives in which you guys plan on unleashing first quarter of next year, or let's just say next year entirely?
Yeah, no, I want to start putting these toys in people's hands, ideally before the end of the year, and we're actually already starting to do that. If you come into the Roko channel, you'll see both Robot and myself posting updates about the projects we have. They're on GitHub. You're able to participate and try them out yourself. And as we get the network online, we're going to be plugging these into the network and having people connect their wallets and play with them there. So there's already stuff to play with, and as soon as testnet goes online, we expect there to be a faucet for people to go grab some coins and try things out.
Impressive stuff. Impressive. So thank you very much, Manicor, for this beautiful presentation. I also want to commend you one more thing. The way you presented the project with such fire and desire, it shows you have that passion for the project. And I also want to say shout out to Rocco Prime who introduced you to us. So thank you very much, Rocco Prime. Thank you very much, Manicor. Thank you very much for that great presentation.
Thank
Thanks
you.
very much.
Bye.
You're welcome.